Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi and today I want to do a very soft glam makeup look. This is my go-to look for holidays or if I just want to do a glam look in winter. Keep on watching if that sounds like fun. So I just wanted to say I did a hair gloss last night and look how shiny my hair looks. Like, I need to do this way more often. I can't remember the brand, but it's one of the spray nozzle ones. I'll put it here, but wow, this is just from one use and I'm not very consistent with this, but I think I might be because of this. So let's just get started. I did prep my base. I just did my skincare and then sunscreen. For foundation, I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape Cloud Coverage and the shade I have is 12N Fair Neutral. And I really like this one because it has pretty good coverage and it also has the matte look. I feel like there are so many of those on the market, so whatever you have will work. And my favorite way to distribute this is with a brush. And I can't tell if this one is too light for me or not. I swatched it in store and they all looked really orange to me, including this one. But out of the three that I swatched, this one looked like the lightest orange, but it's not orange at all. And it kind of matches, but sometimes it looks like just too white. I think that's just me not coming to grasp with how pale I am, but I do think it's a good shade match. And usually half a pump to 1 pump is good enough for me, but you definitely can build this up to full coverage and I think it looks very beautiful. I think I'm happy with how that's looking, so we're gonna move on to the next step. And before I do finish my base, I actually do want to put on a lip plumper. And towards the end, I'm going to wipe it off and put on my lipstick. But I've noticed using a lip plumper while doing my makeup and then taking it off and putting my lip product on, it really helps with the longevity of the lipstick as well as just kind of giving you a nice flat base. So I'm using another Tarte product and it's the Maracuja Lip Plump and the shade I have is Primrose. And I actually really like these. I do wish they were a tiny bit less glossy because I feel like they kind of slide off if I have them on as like a lip product throughout the day. But I do love how wearable this shade is. So when I think of a full glam look, I think of a full face of makeup and you don't skip any step. Of course you can, but that's just what comes to mind for me. So most days I usually don't actually grab concealer just because I tend to use my foundation and just use it as concealer. Unless I have like some severe dark circles, then I will use it, but I guess I just don't gravitate towards it very much. But this is one of my favorites and this is the Natasha Denona hy-glam concealer. The shade is 4N. The perfect amount of creaminess and blendability. I do think it's one of the like less creasing ones. No concealer is going to be creaseless because you have creases where you're putting it, you know? You can't get rid of that with makeup. But I do think this one, it has like a thinner formula, not like a serum formula, but just thinner cream formula. So I think it does a really good job. And if you want your concealer to have a bit more coverage, I like to give it like 30 seconds to a minute to dry and then I blend it out. So while I let that dry, I'm going to do my brows and I have the e.l.f. Well Brow in the shade Neutral Brown. And I'm just going to use the same foundation brush to blend it out, but you can use a concealer brush if you want. I'm just too lazy to grab one. And I am just taking it over my lid because I will be doing an eyeshadow look and I forgot to grab some primer. So I will be using this. This is one of my favorite products, especially for like the soft glam type of look. And that is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick. And I have the shade Fair. And I love this one. It is such a cool toned color. I mean, just look at that. It is perfect for this look and just creating shape to the face. So you can either draw it on or use your brush. I actually prefer using a brush, like rubbing my brush on it and then stamping it in. You can draw it on. I just feel like the blending takes a lot longer. So this is my favorite way of doing it. And it's such a beautiful shade, especially for winter time. I tend to not grab bronzer because I just find it to be a little too orange and too much. But this just works so nicely. And I do like to bring this all around my face. It's such a nice product. It's so subtle that I really feel like it's hard to go overboard with this. So for blush, this has been one of my go-to shades all winter long, and I have the Tower 28 Beach Please in the shade Power Hour. And it's just this beautiful terracotta shade. It is warm, but the look we're doing is more neutral, kind of cool toned. So I do think this goes really well with it. It has such a nice balmy texture. So I like to use my fingers first and then kind of blend it out with a brush. And it looks really intense, but it's not. I mean, it can be, but it blends out so beautifully. And I do kind of like, I like a higher blush placement, but I am going to bring it down just a little rather than the draping that I usually do. And I think it just gives like a more romantic look. It's so pretty. And if you ever find that you went overboard with cream blush or you just want to clean it up a little bit, I love to go back in with my foundation brush and just kind of tap it over those edges, and it blends so seamlessly. You can also do concealer after blush. I do that sometimes as well because the way it layers, it's so beautiful. So definitely give that a try if you feel like your blush looks way too aggressive and just not blended properly. This is the part I am most excited for, the eyes, and I feel like there's so much that you can do. And to achieve that, I'm going to be using the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. This one is perfect for so many reasons. It has these beautiful mattes from very light to this really deep chocolate brown, but you also have some warmer tones and then just some beautiful shimmers to play with. So to start, I'm going to use a pretty fluffy brush and I'm going to dip into the shade Fair, which for me is a skin tone color, and you just want to kind of lay a base over the concealer that we brought up. If this shade doesn't really work as a skin tone color for you, then I would set your concealer with like a translucent powder and it achieves the same purpose. I just find that some of these mattes can be a little harder to blend, especially if the base layer is still tacky. So this is something I like to do to help prevent that. Next, with that same brush, I'm going to be dipping into Mesh, which is just kind of a very light neutral brown shade. We also have Stone, which I feel like is only slightly deeper, but to me, it is more cool toned than Mesh. Really, whatever you like for this one, I think they both kind of achieve the same thing. And in this, I'm just going to work into the crease, but I do want to keep it kind of downward, so I'm going to angle my brush down. And I mean, that was just one time, and it's perfect. I also love this as just like a one and done shade. It's just such a beautiful color, and I don't know, there's something about a wash of a neutral brown that I think is so beautiful. Next, I'm going to grab a slightly smaller blending brush and I'm going to go into the shade Tender, which it's kind of just, we're getting deeper and deeper with those browns. And this one I'm also going to focus into the crease, but more on my outer eye, just to kind of prep for silhouette, which is that deep brown. So once that is all blended out, I like to next take a very small dense brush and we're gonna dip into Silhouette, that nice dark brown, and I want to focus it on my outer lash line, but then kind of place it on top of where we put Tender. Once you have the placement and you've packed it in, then we can go back to our fluffy brush to help it blend. But this brush is more for the placement. So I know it looks quite sporadic right now, but we are going to blend it out. I'm just going to place it on both eyes first. And do make sure you kind of wipe off one of your blending brushes first, just so you're not depositing more color. I'm really loving how this is looking. I mean, I'll bring you in a little bit. So I really like playing with deepening up colors of the same color family or the same type of color. because it really just adds so much dimension. Like, you can't see all 3 colors, but you can tell that there is more dimension versus me just slapping on some colors. So I do want to deepen up, I think this side just a little bit more. Yep, so I'm just gonna go back in to mesh with that fluffy brush and just help blend everything back together. And I do find sometimes my crease shade gets a little washed out when I do all the blending. So I do like to do another layer towards the end just to bring that color back. For my lid, I want to use a shimmer, and this palette has some gorgeous shimmers. I really like Mia, that's probably my favorite, and it just has such a beautiful like wet look, as well as I think Sheen. Sheen is kind of the same. Delilah is also very pretty and sparkly. I think I'm going to swatch some of these to kind of get an idea what I want, because I do want it to be brighter on the lid. I don't want to use Mia because it has more of that pink tone, but it's still one of my favorites. So here is Sheen. That barely showed up, but it's very light. It has more of like a peach undertone. Still very sheer and light. Very beautiful. And then that one is Delilah. More of like the taupey undertone. Still kind of warm though. I think this one is more of a satin shade. Still very pretty. So that is Whisper. That's I think actually what I'm leaning towards more. It's like a mix of a taupe and pink undertones. So Ella looks too dark for the look that I'm going for. I will just put Mia next to it because that one is my favorite and I just want to show you. This one is definitely more pink. So this one here is Mia. It's kind of like sheer where it's very sheer and thin, but it's just more pink. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Whisper. That one was gorgeous. And for the shade, I am just going to use my finger. Like I said earlier, when I think of soft glam, I think of every step. So I'm going to do my liner and lashes off camera. And for liner, I'm actually using a brown shade, though I think a black could also look very beautiful. And I am using the NYX Epic Ink Liner in the shade Dark Chocolate. Okay, I did forget to mention that I wanted to use some highlighter today. So the one I'm using is Fenty Beauty Starstruck, and I actually prefer applying it with a little fan brush. It's just whenever I draw it on the face, it's just that block of line and I can never blend it. So I'm gonna do kind of the method I was doing with my contour. And we already have some glow, I think, from my sunscreen, but I really just like to add a little bit more, build it up. And this would actually be really pretty under the brow too. So for my lips, like I said, I'm going to wipe off the lip plumper. I mean, this could also work, honestly, but I feel like it slides around throughout the day, so I do want to wear lipstick. And I'm going to be using kind of an interesting duo. So for my lip liner, I have Colourpop Lippie Pencil in the shade BFF, which is a very just neutral brown. And then for my lips, I am going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. You know, I always think it leans more pink, but then when I put it on, it's pretty warm. But I think we kind of have a combination of warm and cool toned that I think it's going to work. And I do have the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner in Pillow Talk as well. The lip liner actually leans a bit pink on me, so I do like to use that for other lipsticks. And this one is more of a true brown. So there you have it. This is how I achieve a soft glam look, and I love this look so much. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you did, I would love if you like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!